Welcome to week 4 of 388. Thank you all for meeting with me this past week over Zoom to share your ideas in your small groups. This week, we're going to be talking about our next step, I guess, in this whole business development process, and that is customer discovery. This week, we're going to be talking about learning to interview. In our week 4 module, we'll find we have a link to this page where it will give you several videos to go and watch. These are with Steve Blank and his customer discovery series. I've only assigned 3, but if you're really interested in what else he has to say, go ahead and feel free to watch more of those. But these 3 are assigned, and as you can see, they're pretty short. You'll get them done in less than 15 minutes easily. We'll also have a lecture here. That's where you found this lecture, and I'll link the PowerPoint slides below. So with that, let's go into the PowerPoint for this week. Okay, so for customer interviews, the whole idea behind this is to make sure your business idea is validated through finding customers, okay? If you have this great idea for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist or isn't a big enough problem for people, they're not going to buy your product. And that's what this is for, to make sure that the need is there, the want is there for your product before you go out and spend all this time and money on developing a business plan, starting renting office space, hiring a bunch of your friends, all that kind of stuff. So let's start and make sure we have customers in the industry we're looking into. So the goal of this session is to share ideas, tips and tricks, and secrets on how to best do, once again, customer discovery. The key is to get out of the building or get out of your room wherever you're watching this and talk to people. Part of the assignment this week, I'm going to assign this reading for you. It's kind of long. It's going to take you maybe an hour, a couple hours to read, but it's super important and it's going to help you break down just why we're doing this, how to do this, that kind of thing. So, getting out of the building and connecting with people. This is super important. It needs to be face-to-face. You can also use online video such as Skype, Google Hangout, if your market is too far away for you to reach face-to-face, like if you're marketing in China and you want to set up your business in China and obviously you can't visit there every week to do your customer interviews. Online video is okay there. Phone calls and email should only be used for scheduling these interviews. I don't want these interviews to take place over those mediums. And another good point, never do surveys for this part of the customer discovery, okay? I won't accept that. So prepare. Before you go out and talk to these people, you need to have a purpose and a plan behind talking to them. So know who you're meeting with and why, and have a list of questions planned out for what you want to interview them about. Be transparent and authentic in your interview and tell them that you're not selling. This is really important because a lot of people just get very turned off when you start pitching them your product, your business idea. It's important to just be getting information from them at this point about their problems and ideas. You are students learning about the market. This is really going to help you get in the door. So if you tell them you're a UNL student taking a silly entrepreneurship class, they're going to be likely to share stuff with you and help teach you about their market, their industry, their business, their ideas, that kind of thing. It's also important to ask for their help. So if you go in and say either you got referred to them by someone or you heard they have a lot of industry experience and expertise, and ask them for their help and insights, they'll be a lot more willing to share because you just gave them a compliment about their opinions. And finally, come prepared to listen and learn. Set a relaxed tone and be open to surprises and insights. It's important to maybe record these or at least take notes so that way you can refer back to them later. Think about the key lessons you took away from each interview. So, to start off these interviews, it's important, obviously, to introduce yourself. Don't go into a long, rambling speech, but say who you are, tell them why you're doing these interviews, maybe talk about the industry you're interested in, give them a hint about your business idea or what you're studying, and then just make sure not to sell them or give them an elevator pitch. Okay, let them know you're there to learn, not to sell. Pick an informal place if that is necessary, and then You want to meet because they are important. That is important to establish. And be honest, you do want their help, so tell them so. First, you need to understand their problems. You need to know your customers deeply, and that's kind of in the sense of not knowing their personal lives, but it's more their habits, what blogs they're reading, what their day-to-day looks like. Understand their day, know their interests and interactions, okay? This will help you understand what their biggest problems are, and if you're number one, if you're solving with your business idea, number 1, number 2, or number 50. Okay, just kind of understand where you are on that list and how much of a pain point you're trying to solve. It's important to understand that customers do lie. Some key things to note: ask open-ended questions. You don't want a bunch of yes or no answers or close-ended questions. Ask who, what, why, how, should, why not an is and are question. Those will lead you, again, to yes or no questions. Ask what they do, what their job is, what are their problems, pain points, how do they currently address them, and finish with, what did I forget to ask you, and who else should I speak with? That's important for referrals. But this whole middle section on what to ask, this you need to cater towards the industry you're learning about, okay? And the business you are, I guess, researching, okay? So with that, it's important, once again, I know I'm repeating myself a lot here, but you're not pitching a business, you're kind of feeling for customers, okay? You're not trying to sell anyone or convince anyone to buy anything. It's all about testing your hypothesis and assumptions from your potential customer segments you have laid out. Is your hypothesis true or false, and does your test go far enough? Meaning, when you set your assumptions going into the interview, this kind of is in your reflection, which I'll explain in a second, but did your interviews, especially this first week, dive deep enough into answering the question of whether your customers are out there for this business, and are there enough customers in interest to scale this business in the future, to make it full-time, and to hire employees, I guess. So we'll be thinking about those questions coming into the second week of these customer discovery interviews. But it's important, again, to lay out the assumptions, the hypotheses you have going into these interviews. So some of the best practices or takeaways for customer discovery is to ask for 15 minutes of their time, and don't end the meeting until they do, okay? So don't cut them off short if they're willing to talk more. So be willing to schedule in 30 minutes, 40 minutes if they have the time and the interest in the interview, the opinions to share, go ahead and take them. But pull the plug if there's no value, okay? If they aren't the right people to be talking to, just go ahead and cut them off, because you're just wasting both of your time, okay? Both your time and their time. Be honest with yourself and be open-minded. Do not look for validation of your own biases, okay? If you already think your business is going to be a hit, don't just look for validation of that. Go ahead and keep an open mind and treat each potential customer the same, okay? In-person meetings are always best. Again, if you need to Skype, that's okay, but I don't prefer that at all. Phone calls are a terrible substitute. You want to see their face, you want to see their eyes light up when you mention a problem that they might have or that they find is a big pain point, and you want to note that. And also, surveys are garbage at this point. No surveys. Don't forget to ask at the interview, what did I forget to ask you? So you can incorporate that in the future interviews and maybe get more takes on more stuff related to the interview. Who should I talk to next? Again, referrals are super important here. And can you introduce me if they do have a referral in mind for you? So the best practices for customer discovery: value of speed and insight. Meet people you don't know. You need to get out of your comfort zone. People you know will be nice and tell you what you want to hear. And these interviews are possibly harmful because they will potentially just try to validate your existing biases and lead you off astray into solving a pain point that's not really there for people, or they're not willing to go out of their way to try and solve with your business. And then people you don't have a relationship with and that you don't know, they won't feel the need to protect that relationship, and they will tell you the unbiased truth, which is what you're after here, okay? Cold calls are a must in this situation. You're obviously not going to know everyone you're talking to, and there's a lot of you in this class who are new to the area and don't know many people there. So if you're looking to stay in the area, cold calls are obviously going to be the method you go with, okay? I'm not going to be able to introduce you to every single potential customer in your interview list, okay? You need to set up those appointments yourself. Phone calls for appointments are best. With emails, be brief, have a 1 to 2 sentence introduction, and then schedule that in-person appointment and interview. Don't approach executives too early, okay? So especially this first week when you're just learning the interviewing process and understanding which questions you need to ask, which ones you're getting the most information from, don't approach the big hotshot executives in the businesses you want to target. You want to target those middle management people, okay? So kind of work out all the kinks in your interview process, get everything down smooth before you talk to the people who make the selling decisions, the buying decisions. Lower levels will also give you more company data. For these customer discovery interviews, you want to find the decision makers in the company. So if you're selling to restaurants, you want to find the people who are in charge of buying and selling there, okay? So if the chefs are in charge of finding their ingredients, you need to target those people. But if it's the owner or manager, target them. Find people you don't know, again, important, and don't show a demo or try to sell. Ask about their problems and look for unexpected surprises. So with that, this first interview assignment is pretty straightforward, okay? First of all, you're going to practice your interview process with 3 or 4, I guess, friends and family members, okay? So this interview is going to come from your reflection part, which we'll talk about in a second. This might seem a little backwards, but we're going to go over this first. Okay, so practice your interview with 3 or 4 friends and family. Set up and complete 5 in-person interviews with potential customers, actual potential customers. And then it's important to refine your question set and interview techniques as you see fit along the way. For this assignment, all you're going to do is turn in this edited spreadsheet for your customer interview tracking with the first 8 rows filled out. It's going to look like this. You're going to put in the name of the person you interviewed, their phone number, email, the length of the interview, in minutes is fine, the key learnings from this interview, and any patterns. This first week especially, I'm sure you won't find any patterns, and we'll talk about how to find and what kind of patterns you're looking for in a couple weeks, maybe next week, we'll see. But for this week, it's just important to fill out these 4 columns, okay? Go ahead and include the 3 or 4 friends and family you interviewed as well with the practice interview, and put in some key learnings, whether this was about the interview process or if you did gain some insights about your business from them, okay? So that is what is due under this first interview assignment. So let's head into our articles for the week. These are directly related. As in the past, they've been kind of more just entrepreneurial related, big concept ideas, but these are directly about customer discovery through interviewing, okay? So this first one, Talking to Humans, is a PDF. This is the longer one, so it's going to take you a couple hours probably to read it. It's important to read this before you go out and do your customer interviews. It'll give you a lot of tips and tricks and what to do, what not to do, okay? So make sure you read that before you head out. And then there's also another, a lot shorter article here about overcoming your customer interviewing anxiety, which I have struggled with, but this article definitely helped. Reflecting on this article helped. Putting in the practice what they say here is helped me too. So one of the first things they talk about is practicing your interviews, and that's kind of what we're doing this week. And then we're going to also go into interviewing your customers, okay? So go ahead and read these 2 articles. There are a couple reflection points to think about and write about and brainstorm about right here. It's a lot of reading, watching videos on your part, and then a little bit of execution this week, okay? We're going to dive a lot more into interviews in the future, so look forward to that, or be prepared for that, I guess. You should be looking forward to it because this is very important to starting a business, validating whether it's possible and whether it's scalable, okay? So with that, These are both, I guess the reflections due on Friday, but I made the first interview assignment due Sunday at midnight. I kind of gave you a little extra time this weekend so you can make sure you fit in those interviews, especially if you don't have a lot of time scheduled out in the week to do it. I'm looking for 8 in-person interviews, so I wanted to give you a little extra time for that. So this one's due Friday, or sorry, this one's due Sunday. This one's due Sunday, and this one is due Friday, okay? I look forward to hearing all about what you've been learning so far. Don't forget you've got that shadowing project due on the 21st coming up. And if you haven't found a mentor yet, you need to keep looking for one because you have a lot of mentor-related assignments in the future to fulfill. So you'll be missing a lot more than 3 points if you don't find a mentor, okay? And a lot of learning opportunity as well. So again, shoot me any questions if you have any, and good luck this week.